have a long, persistent success, you have to think in a sustainable manner to improve upon the society and the value chain system of the nation. And we have done few exercises. When we are building transmission lines, we find a lot of youths roaming around, and we gave them vocational training. Pull them out, give them 2,000 rupees per month, and give them food and put them in a hostel. And we gave them around 3 months training on construction of transmission system. What we find, there is a dramatic change. The person who was so pessimistic, they are thinking the life is gone, nothing can happen. And we have done at least for around 600 to 700 people, youth taking to a particular place in batch-wise and did the development. And if the person's face changes after 3 months, after he comes out of our training module, and when he works, go to the site and work in the building construction sites. And his face is different. His family are so happy. And similarly, we have done few schools, colleges, and we have taken up some adapted around 4 to 5 ITIs. And what I find that to sustain and to sustainable and success, and it is not only brand image, the brand insurance. So you have to insure it so that you have a long thing. It is not the brand image for a short while, but you have to insure your brand. That is possible only when you do social responsibility work, and corporates have to work at a change. The more profitable the companies are, because somebody has given you money, that is you are making profit. And part something from that to the society. And this is what I wanted to say, that corporates have to be more, it is for their survival, it is not that doing charity. To have survive for a longer time and do the job. See, building transmission line, we are putting a pole in someone's field, we are not paying price for it. So such a difficult task, if we do not have support from the public, the society at large, it is difficult to take up any construction works or any new work. And another thing what I find in business, the ethics in the business proposition. And more people are concerned about the scams, corruption, and other things. What I find, you can safely do business in an ethical manner. And people say that you cannot rise in public life if you are not do something and you have to bothering somebody. It's not required. I have seen my own personal life. Not required. You need not be corrupt. You need not do anything in life, do such kind of thing. You can still come up. The main issue is the hard work. The hard work is the essence of the whole thing, and you need not do unethical things to come up in life. I can assure you, because my personal experience is there, hard work and with good intention, and do something for the society. All this, if you take care, your business entity will prosper, the society will prosper. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nayak. Very well put, that the intention is more important than the act follows. We now have our last panelist, Mr. Satya Bansal, who is the Managing Director of Barclays. Maybe we'll get the banker's perspective on this. So, over to you.
Good afternoon, friends. It's a pleasure to be here. And here I will share some of the experiences of which I've gathered while working with many of the business families in India and abroad. Let me first start with education, as our fellow panelists have started. And here I would like to drift from what has already been covered. So when we talk about education, essentially it comprises of three broad things. And that's what I'm bucketing it, not necessarily true, but that's how I understand it. One is the academic part of education, which we all know. It's important for us to understand the importance of knowledge. And there is a huge amount of focus on making that happen, Whether we have succeeded or not, it's a long way, but there's a huge amount of focus. The second part, as Ashram is already showing us the way, is the skill part. Education is not enough. We have got enough educated people in the country who are not skilled to do anything. And that's what I think we are all grappling with today when it comes to the employability of most of our people. When I speak to my business families, and they often struggle to get the right kind of semi-skilled and skilled people. When we have so much of manpower, trained manpower, educated manpower, they are often not adequately skilled, for which the society has to work a lot. But here I'm touching the third very important part, and an issue which most business families are grappling with is the value part of the education. And here I'm not talking about mere the moral values. Moral values, we are all, in whatever environment we grow up, at our home, in our society, we gain something, we don't gain something. That's our individual choice. Most business families, in my experience, disintegrate because of not having the values transmitted from one generation to another. While they can all talk about transmission of their business, who will take on my business, who will run my business, how my business will be run, they can all talk about transmitting those 100 crore or those 1,000 crore or those millions or billions from one generation to another. The most difficult part they often grapple with, even when the father and son is staying together, spending time together, is they are not able to spend time on what made them successful. What was the core values of the family or the DNA which made them successful to transition it from one generation to another. And that is one reason that most successful businesses do not survive beyond second or third generation. Less than 15% of the businesses survive beyond 3 generations. And what is the reason? Value part of the transmission not happening effectively. So many of you who are coming from business background or have got intention to sustain your business beyond your current generation, at least focus on, obviously on the academic part, the skill part. You can give them enough experience, internship, but most importantly, value part. And the value part of transmission can happen in many ways. How much time do the kids spend with their grandparents? They are the best custodian of values. Do we really make them spend time? Do they really pick up those stories which made them successful? Very important. There are many ways we can touch upon, and I don't want to take too much of time on this panel, but that's very important. The second part of my comment is philanthropy in a very different way. The best thing you can do to be philanthropic is to run a successful and sustained business. Now, more often than not, people say that businessmen should do philanthropy. I am saying doing a business in the right way itself is philanthropic. And here, let me touch upon. When you create a business, you provide a job to somebody. What happens to his family? He takes care of everything. You don't need to support his education. You don't need to support his hospitalization. The fellow who works as part of the business takes care of everything, not only around himself or herself, but also around people around him. So providing one job can lead to philanthropic change in the life of so many people around him. And so what we are doing by creating businesses is to create these kind of people who can create the change in society. So what we as a business families can do, and I sit on quite a few families, family board, family governance councils, and very often this topic comes in. What should we do about philanthropy? While we do talk about, you should do something about education, you should do about hospitals, you should, lot of philanthropic initiative, various business people talk about. But one of the things which they often forget is that they have a role to create more business people. They can create more entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. And in the process, they can create an ecosystem of creating businesses which can create more job creators. So we as a businessman can be the biggest catalyst to this by doing the business right way and by creating more and more job creators by way of creating businesses. Whether it's a small business, SME or a startup, whether it's a new idea or an established idea which can turn into a viable business. The moment we create a business, we bring an impact by way of creating the jobs, and the moment you create the job, most of the philanthropic activity itself will be taken care of. It's a very different dimension of looking at philanthropy and the business, but I think this also needs to be pursued in right earnest. We as a corporate citizen has got a tremendous responsibility to create job creators.
Thank you. I can see the anguish that we always look back and say, when I was young, things were so good. So the erosion and dilution in human values is something we need to look at. Now we will throw the floor open for audience interaction for about 10 minutes, I suppose. And after that, each one of the panelists will sum up his or her take on this session. Thank you. Yes, all yours.
Thank you. I am Rupa Venkatesh from Bangalore. I have a question for Mr. Dinesh. Mr. Dinesh, you shared with us about the CSR activities you do around your establishments. Can you share an example of how there has been a reverse benefit to your organization by whatever you have been doing? In terms of you've been supporting education, you've been giving employment. In return, how has your organization benefited?
See, what happens that when we have factories, it is very important and most of the time we have men working in the companies at various levels of operations. And it is very important that their families are happy about it. So, in the surrounding areas of villages and nearby in range of say 1 to 2 kilometer range, if their children are being given education by computers or by training them or for health awareness, we have a health awareness wellness manager also. So their happiness is a primary important factor for the man. And if the ladies also are working and they are being deployed, so the whole environment becomes suitable for the happiness of the person who works with us.
Yeah, thank you. But that also means then that CSR directly benefits the organization by bringing back more employable people, more happy people, and more contributing people. So CSR is actually benefiting more the organization. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Can I give a little different answer to it? When you talk about a company in the marketplace, its valuation comes out of its earning and its perception of earning. For those of you who are from finance background, you understand the meaning of earning per share and price multiples, earning multiples, PE, whatever you call. So while the abstract form of generating value is to generate EPS, more and more earning per share, and you create value for the organization. But let's also keep in mind that a large amount of valuation also comes with the perceived value the organization has with the society. And that's what determines how valuable the company is. So if you are in the right track, obviously you will have a better multiples. And that's the reason when we talk about many companies who have been successfully run, and Infosys is a great example of it, started in that way. Infosys always enjoyed a better multiple than many other companies. Obviously, they were also making money, but their money was considered to more valuable when they were making it than many other companies. So CSR indirectly affect the company in its valuation by getting the right image and getting better valuation. So CSR, by the way, is not a public service. You are serving yourself and your stakeholders.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Subramanya Swamy from Amruta Info Technology. In fact, my CMD by name MVC Hanumanthaya, he is a property developer, a famous developer in Bangalore city. He has developed 600 houses complex in RT Nagar. So to do something good to his village, he has plowed back around nearly 1.5 crores, built an infrastructure for 250 seaters BPO. and we recruited local community. Most of them are women. Otherwise, they would have remained as housewives. We trained them in computer skills, typing, soft skills, and employed them. The unfortunate story, this conference is under the auspices of Federation of Karnataka Chambers of Commerce and Industry. In Karnataka, there are 32 such rural BPOs, where to harness the local, manpower. Otherwise, it would have been not benefited. We have trained, all of them have trained, but they are withering away for want of business or the support from the larger companies. The larger companies, they are so much strong in terms of their process, financial strength, and marketing strength, which these tiny tots are lacking in the rural areas. Now my question is, what is that Federation of Karnataka Chambers of Commerce and Industry can do, address this to alleviate the issues so that the technology can go back to the rural, the migration to the urban can be prevented. As you said, a job that is given is highly philanthropic because that gives rise to the welfare of the entire family. So my question is to the Federation of Karnataka.
Yeah, thank you. As they are not on the panel, we would get them to respond to you eventually. So may we have the next person here? Someone wanted to make a point?
Yes. I have a question to Mr. Nayak. Mr. Nayak, while I support your contention of working hard and not to the level of rising again and again in your career, while I support this, that buttering is not necessary, but don't you think you ever got the thought, did you ever had the thought, I could have jumped the ladder faster had I